I got an email from my mom. She and my sister took my $500 savings and moved to Scottsdale while I was stuck in the city working 3 jobs. They thought I'd never find them, but they forgot one thing. I was sitting in my gray, windowless office, staring at a spreadsheet that seemed to go on forever. It was 6:45 p.m. on a rainy Tuesday. My eyes were burning. My back ached, but I didn't care, as every hour of overtime, every skipped lunch, and every dollar I'd scraped together over the last 7 years was sitting in a high-yield investment account, $500,000. That was the Freedom Fund, the money that was going to get me out of this cubicle and into the small bakery I'd dreamed of opening since I was 10. My phone buzzed on the desk. An email. Subject, goodbye, Chloe. It was from my mother. I opened it, expecting a recipe or a complaint about her cable bill. Instead, I felt the world tilt on its axis. Dear Chloe, I know you're going to be upset, but your sister Sarah has been so depressed lately. She needed a fresh start. We realized that your savings were just sitting there doing nothing. We've moved to a beautiful villa in Scottsdale. Don't worry about the money. We're using it to build a life we actually enjoy. You're young. You can always make more. Love, Mom. I didn't blink. I didn't breathe. I logged into my banking app, my hands shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. Balance $0.14. They hadn't just taken a portion. They had drained the entire account. The account my mother was a secondary signer on from back when I was 18 and didn't know any better. I had forgotten she even had access. I thought that was the worst part, but I was wrong, because when I tried to call her, the number was disconnected. I sat in that office for 3 hours after everyone else had left. The cleaning crew came and went. The lights dimmed. I realized then that to my mother and Sarah, I wasn't a daughter or a sister. I was a retirement plan. I was a safety net that they had decided to cut and weave into a hammock in the Arizona sun. But they forgot one very important thing about me. I don't just work in finance. I specialize in forensic auditing, and I had kept receipts for things they didn't even know existed. I went home to my empty apartment. Everything felt different. The air felt thinner. I looked at the pictures on the wall, Sarah's graduation, my mother's birthday. I took them down and put them in a cardboard box. I spent the next 48 hours on my laptop. I didn't sleep. I barely ate. I tracked the wire transfers. They had been smart moving the money through 3 different banks before it landed in a Scottsdale branch. But Sarah was a social media addict. She couldn't help herself. She posted a photo of a sunset over Camelback Mountain. New beginnings. Finally living the life I deserve. Luxury life, Scottsdale blessed. In the reflection of the wine glass she was holding, I saw a street sign, and that's when everything changed. I didn't call the police. Not yet. I knew that if I filed a report immediately, the money would be frozen in a legal battle that could take years. I needed it back now. I took my remaining vacation days. I packed a small bag, and I bought a one-way ticket to Phoenix. I thought I was going there to confront them, but as I landed and felt the dry heat hit my face, I realized I wasn't there for a conversation. I was there for an extraction. I rented a car and drove to the address I'd narrowed down. It was a gated community, manicured lawns, stucco houses that looked like they cost a fortune. I waited outside the gates for 6 hours. Finally, a white convertible pulled out. My mother was driving. Sarah was in the passenger seat, wearing oversized sunglasses and a silk scarf. They looked happy. They looked like they hadn't spent a single second thinking about the woman they'd left behind with 14 cents. I followed them to a high-end shopping center. They walked into a designer boutique like they owned the place. I walked in 5 minutes later. Sarah was trying on a $2,000 handbag. It really brings out my eyes, don't you think, Mom? She laughed. Anything for my favorite girl, my mother replied. I stepped out from behind a rack of dresses. Is it my favorite girl's turn next? I asked. The silence that hit that room was absolute. The handbag slipped from Sarah's hand and hit the floor with a thud. My mother's face turned a shade of gray that matched the desert dust. Chloe, what are you doing here? My mother stammered. I came to check on my investment, I said. My voice was quiet. It was steady, and it was terrifying. Look, Chloe, Sarah said, regaining her nerve. Mom gave you life. You owed her. Besides, the money was in a joint account. Legally, it's half hers anyway. Legally? I smiled. Let's talk about legality, Sarah. I pulled a tablet out of my bag. I've spent the last few days looking into the consulting firm you and Mom set up to move the funds, I said. The one you used to sign the lease on that villa. My mother's eyes darted toward the door. Don't bother, I said. I've already spoken to the leasing office. I showed them the original source of the funds, and I showed them the documents I had you sign 3 years ago, Mom. What documents? The ones you signed when I helped you with your taxes, I said. The power of attorney that gave me control over any account your name is attached to in the event of irregular financial activity. I leaned in close. I didn't just track the money, Mom. I reclaimed it. What do you mean? Sarah hissed. The $500,000 is gone, I said. I moved it back this morning, along with the $300,000 you had sitting in your personal savings, Sarah. Consider it interest on the loan you took without asking. Sarah's jaw dropped. You can't do that. That's my money. I saved that for my influencer deals. Actually, I said, since you used my stolen money to pay the taxes on those deals, everything is tied together. It's all flagged as part of a fraud investigation now. I looked at my mother. The villa is being locked at noon tomorrow. Your bags are already on the porch. The convertible, it's a rental under my name now. I called the company. They're coming to pick it up in 10 minutes. You're leaving your own mother homeless, my mom wailed. No, I said. I'm leaving you exactly where you left me, with the clothes on your back and the choices you made. I walked out of the store. I could hear them screaming behind me. I could hear Sarah's heels clicking on the pavement as she tried to follow me. But that wasn't the real secret. The real secret was what happened when I got back to the airport. I sat in the terminal, looking at my bank balance, $800,000. I should have felt happy. I should have felt like I'd won. But I felt hollow. Then, my phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. "You think you're so smart, Chloe, but check the basement of the villa." Sarah wasn't the only one Mom was helping. I froze. I didn't get on my flight. I drove back to the gated community. The house was dark. My mother and Sarah were gone, likely at a hotel they couldn't afford. I used the emergency key code I'd seen in the leasing office's files. I went to the basement. It wasn't a storage room. It was an office. And on the desk was a stack of papers. Dozens of them. Life insurance policies, all in my name, and all with accidental death riders. I realized then that Scottsdale wasn't just a place for them to spend my money. It was a place for them to wait for me to die. They hadn't just stolen my past. They were planning to steal my life. I walked out of that house and I didn't look back. I went straight to the police station. This time it wasn't about the money. It was about the Freedom Fund in a way I never expected. Freedom from them. What happened next shocked everyone in our hometown. The investigation into the insurance policies revealed a string of accidents involving my mother's previous husbands. None of them had survived. I was the only one who had caught her, and that's when everything changed. I didn't open the bakery. Not yet. I spent a year traveling. I spent a year learning how to breathe without checking my back. My mother and Sarah are currently serving time for conspiracy and fraud. And me, I realized that the best revenge isn't just taking your money back. It's living a life so good that you forget they ever existed. Powerful final ending line. They thought they could bury me in the desert, but they forgot that I was the one who knew exactly where all the bodies were hidden. Family betrayal is a wound that goes bone deep, but the truth is your strongest shield. Have you ever had someone you love try to sabotage your future? Tell me your story in the comments. And if you're ready to stand up for yourself, hit that subscribe button. You are worth more than someone else's plan.